Episode 1 of Season 1, the ERP-to-Excel Pipeline. Excel and Power BI for Finance, a 12-episode walk from raw ERP exports to a Power BI dashboard that replaces your Monday morning. We start with the question every finance pro lives, but no tutorial seems to ask. Why does finance still live in spreadsheets, even after a $5 million ERP rollout? Six episodes in Season 1. 12 across both seasons, leading from Excel into Power BI on the same data. Today is the setup episode, 3 things. Why the export to Excel loop never ends. Where finance data really comes from. And the fictional company we'll work with for the whole series. Before any formula, we set the stage. Picture a typical Monday morning in a finance department at a company that runs SAP, Oracle, or NetSuite. You open the ERP, you run a report, you export it to Excel, and then you spend the next 3 hours stitching the export into something your CFO can actually read. If that sounds familiar, this series is for you. And if it doesn't yet, this series is also for you, because by the end of episode 12, that workflow is the one you'll know how to do well. Companies spend millions of dollars and several years rolling out ERP software. Then their CFO still asks for a profit and loss by region in Excel. This isn't a failure of the ERP. It's the natural result of a tool optimized for recording transactions, meeting an audience that needs flexible reporting. ERPs are systems of record. Excel, and increasingly Power BI, is where humans actually think. The CFO wants US dollars. The ERP holds 3 currencies. The CFO wants a comment column. The ERP doesn't have one. Finance bridges the gap every single month. That's not a problem to solve. It's the job, the last mile between the ERP's record-keeping and the human who has to make a decision. Throughout all 12 episodes, we work with one fictional company, AtlasParts Corp. AtlasParts is a regional B2B distributor of automotive parts. $10 million in annual revenue, a 5% net margin, 50 customers, and a footprint across the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, and France. Distribution is the cleanest possible flow. Buy inventory from manufacturers like Brembo and Bosch, hold it in a warehouse, and resell it to repair shops and fleet operators at a markup. That gives us straightforward cost of goods sold, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and inventory accounting, every basic finance building block, on a backdrop simple enough to hold in your head. Every episode in this series uses one or more of 3 core data exports. The first, and the headline, is the general ledger. AtlasParts, general ledger for fiscal 2025, has roughly 22,000 rows of journal lines. Each row carries a posting date, an account number, a debit, a credit, a description, and a reference to the source document, a sales order number, a vendor invoice, a recurring entry tag. 22,000 rows can look intimidating. It is also the raw material every finance report is ultimately built from. Episode 2 is dedicated to making this file readable before we touch a single formula. Two reference files round out the picture. The customer master is 1 row per customer, 50 rows total, with the name, country, region, industry, credit limit, and payment terms. The accounts payable invoice list is 1 row per vendor invoice, about 420 rows. Each row has the invoice ID, vendor ID, invoice date, due date, amount, and paid or open status. Real master data is messy. Country says United States in 1 row, USA in another, US in a third. Episode 5 is dedicated to cleaning files exactly like this with Power Query. So you have these 3 files. What does the stitching actually look like on a typical Monday? Run 3 reports out of the ERP. Save them as CSVs. Open Excel. Paste each CSV into its own sheet of a workbook. Build a lookup formula to join the customer's country onto each sales transaction. Build another lookup to add the product category from the SKU master. Construct a pivot table that summarizes revenue by country and category. Format it. Email it to the CFO. Receive feedback. Repeat. Each step maps to 1 episode in this season. Lookups in episode 3. Pivot tables in episode 4. Cleaning the messy customer master in episode 5. Making the workbook robust enough to survive the next round of edits. Episode 6. Excel is incredible and has been incredible for 35 years. Pivot tables alone are one of the great pieces of software ever shipped, but Excel has a ceiling, and finance pros tend to hit it the same way. The ceiling is not row count. Modern Excel handles 1 million rows. The ceiling is the model getting out of control. 14 sheets in the monthly close. A lookup formula in cell K847 that secretly depends on a hard-coded number in another workbook a colleague emailed you in March. 2 people producing 2 different revenue numbers and arguing about which one is right. When you hit that ceiling, it's time for Power BI, a real data model, a refresh button that actually works, and a single source of truth. That's what Season 2 is for. 12 episodes across 2 seasons. Here's the full map. Season 1 stays in Excel, reading the general ledger, lookups with SUMIFs and XLOOKUP, pivot tables for profit and loss, Power Query for cleaning, and robust spreadsheets with tables, named ranges, and dynamic arrays. Season 2 moves to Power BI on the same AtlasParts data, Power Query at scale, star schema for finance, DAX fundamentals, time intelligence, and a finance dashboard end-to-end. By the time you reach episode 12, you'll have replaced the Monday morning workflow with something that refreshes itself. Three takeaways from episode 1. First, the export to Excel loop never goes away, even with a brand new cloud ERP. It's the job of finance, not a workaround. Second, AtlasParts Corp. 50 customers, 22,000 general ledger rows, 3 core exports. The data we'll work with for the whole series. Third, Excel until it breaks. Power BI after. We'll show you exactly where the line is. That wraps episode 1 of season 1. Next episode, we open the AtlasParts General Ledger, 22,000 rows of journal lines. We'll learn what every column means before we touch a single formula. Because half the battle in finance is just understanding what your ERP just spat at you.